Here, yeah. Hey, I greet you now. Hi. Well, let's say my very correct people now do well. I lawyer finished. As they run the matter for court and the running of the matter, they run like say tomorrow. All evidence they point say these people they connive together. They not be one, they not be two, they plenty. Where be say they want make this tribunal not get head. But the fact remaining, it has been clarified, as I said earlier in the previous video, that there was no glitch. And right now, the more witnesses will be say, Obi, they bring comments, they show more evidence say this whole election thing nah. Una hear me? This whole election where they do so now big scam. You know, more not just going to dictate, but the fact say the witness they bring come, they say APC lawyer run. When in the cross-examine the witness, the professor where they bring come as witness, the man they yarn. Hey, they say APC lawyer run. Base. APC lawyer base when he see professor wey pass there, the real professor, not the one that they use money to they buy for backyard though. Well, shall not go bring on that video because it's just all about cross-examination. Wait till this one talk, wait till that they just they cross-examine the witnesses. But actually, Obi is doing well. Okay, guys, let's keep our fingers crossed. Justice must be, it must take place. It not gas to be there, it not be two. Now only one winner now we get, and we already know our winner. All right, that's the reason why be say Obi want come as a president. Now plenty issues. And the issues there, not be one, not be two, not be three, they're plenty. And one of them now, those are big belly politicians, all those are senators, all those are people we say they feel say they government, our president, we be say they go they chop money, you know, all the dubious way they enter into government. Now that one, he say he want to deal with. How can you imagine with the level of poverty for Nigeria? And in fact, the last time I checked, only pound, we might not even go into dollar now because I know dollar is the general rate, but let's go into pounds now. When I see the exchange rate, I run. I say, what? Okay, just imagine now, the senators, when they review some kind law, say, and may they increase their pay to over 100%, like almost a 115% on a salary. You see, this life, people are just there to eat, like maybe they just chop. And this one, be say, Obi one can't change. The government is meant to serve the people. And whatever they are earning, it should be transparent, right? I believe that they say now Obi na enter. If for cut that 1 million, what they say that they receive as a basic salary, it go cut down to 250,000 naira. If you don't receive, you go tell you to make you resign. So, guys, see, let's just pray earnestly. This president will enter so there are so many things that is unclear. I'm telling you, there are many things that is not really clear. Like it just a waffle round, not clear to our eyes. Wait to make me talk this thing, I be say the people waiting to surround is safe. They be thief. They be thief. When I just enter the next one, they talk about myself. You guys are meant to serve. When I go listen to wait the views where be say Arise TV, they give and other people, you know, still give, where they still give. See, they are just there to just enrich themselves. Nothing else. Nothing else. They don't get any other thing to come do. In fact, the first law when I pass in to want to review on a salary, because they don't look and say in 2007, when they were receiving about 1 million, which according to them, they are still receiving now just as a basic salary. Okay. So they could look and say that same money as at that time, 2007, 1 million is a big money. So they could say and say the thing not get value again as at now. So they won't go increase that by 115%. Now you tell me and you, who they run this Nigeria where they make can be move forward? They neglect all those areas. The police, they are suffering. The people with these soldiers, where they be say that they make everything, the armed forces, you know, they get their own issue. Their barrack, not they work. Hey God, I'm not our teachers, our professors, our lecturer. My people are not for us begin to name the list now. Then you will sit down for inside a condition, you they read law, you they talk, say, my lord, I want you to pass I want to raise the motion. Then you can't talk, say you want to receive over 114% increase of salary. It is well. That's the late now. So the new general of police, Egbe, He can't talk say, na him be the lion of the tribe of Judah. Na him be the lion and the leopard and the crocodile. Say na his heart, his mind, his soul. Na him want to walk. Say anybody wey do anything, go collect anything. You know, say if you new enter the street, later you go join them. Believe. More just hope say judiciary go do their thing. With all the evidence, maybe say they don't give them. We believe say they go do their thing. And if they do their thing, if we be enter, everywhere go scatter. In fact, na me go happy pass. So I think most to change and you understand. So my people don't like me say I bring on give you now. I'm gonna chop the food where I bring on table normal. You know, say I'm gonna come see you waiting they run, waiting they happen. All right, attention, I'll be Bod TV, but I will see you for my next video now. Bye bye.
We don't tell the story of the poor people that have been left behind. We don't tell the story of people in the last 8 years that have been pushed into poverty. Maybe it's the rich man that has a name. Does the poor man have a name? No. And that's why policing must cater to all cadres of society. The police must be just for those that don't have the money to be able to buy justice. It must have a free and fair police force for all.
Absolutely.
And he must constantly ring it into the ears of his officers. It must never be about the highest bidder, but compassionate policing that opposes the strength of the weak and challenges the might of the rich. That's the kind of police force that'll take Nigeria out of this quagmire.
Well, congratulations to Kayode Egbetokun, emerging as Acting Inspector General of Police. We have no fears that he will get the endorsement of the Senate and the confirmation that he expects. And effectively, when that happens, it will be the 22nd Inspector General of Police. He has said that he will be a lion, he will be a tiger at the same time. Well, the lion and the tiger, I think they belong to the same genus, but he has to make up his mind what he wants to be. In the lion park is a female that goes to hunt, right? The lion does not have stripes, but the lion has a mane. Tigers are more alone. They fight. Tigers go out there heavier in weight, and the tiger goes to hunt. So Kayode Egbetokun, in making up his mind, should decide to be a tiger. Hunt alone. Be more attentive. Go out there and do the work, because there's a lot to be done in the police force. The Nigeria police force as constituted is full of rogues. That's the plain truth, particularly among the rank and file. There must be big emphasis on discipline and making sure that it's only intelligent and reasonable people that are given arms and put on the streets of Nigeria to enforce the law. We have lost the value of the police is your friend. The police is no longer considered a friend. The police is today considered an enemy. It has to do something about that. It has to be an action IGP. Luckily, he doesn't have a pot belly. He has managed to keep himself fit. So we expect that, the tiger, profile will be better for him. And then, of course, what Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done so far, that's President Tinubu, is to bring his boys. Egbetokun is now acting IGP. Odumosu, who was, in charge of security at some point in Lagos State, he was RRS commander when I was on the board of the Lagos Security Trust Fund. Is now, the person who has been targeted, assigned the role of EFCC chairman. Okay, all these are Tinubu boys. But this is not about job for the boys. It's about job for Nigerians. And if you use connection to get to positions, just do the job. That's what we're asking for. As Usman Akali Baba, the outgoing IGP, well, I think in handing over, he conducted himself well. He seems to have strong emotional intelligence. It must have been clear to him in any case that he will leave, because I hear some people don't want to leave. After the president has said, I don't want to work with you. But he, conducted himself after the fashion of a gentleman. As to his performance as Inspector General of Police, well, maybe we'll reserve comments on that. But now that a new man is there, who is experienced, who is also very well educated, We expect him to make a difference. So Kayode Egbetokun, this is not a cynical position. You've been given that job, just do it.
The Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission is initiating 114% upward review of basic salaries of public office holders, including the president, vice president, governors, and other elected officials, pending presidential approval. But the basic salary review has led to heated debates from a section of the public who feel the remuneration package for political office holders is unfair and insensitive in the face of current economic realities. The RMAFC chairman, Muhammad Shehu, said the move was in line with the provision of paragraph 2D of part 1 of the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic as amended. Shehu said the last review of the remuneration was carried out in 2007, which culminated into, quote, certain political, public, and judicial officers holders' salary and allowances Amendment Act 2008. Our correspondent, Gbega Ashiru, tells us more.
With the nation still at a gripping point after the withdrawal of the fuel subsidy, analysts say the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission's approved review of political office holders' annual basic salary by 114% completely defies the overriding need to reduce the cost of governance. The RMAFC is saddled with the responsibility of determining the remuneration that's appropriate for political office holders, including the president, vice president, governors, deputy governors, ministers, commissioners, special advisors, legislators, and the holders of the offices as mentioned in Section 84 and 124 of this Constitution. On the flip side, some have argued that the review of the political office holders' remuneration is long overdue, with the last implementation done in 2008. But this proposal seems somewhat disturbing for the optics, as some argue that the take-home allowances and perks of the political office holders is too outrageous compared to the national minimum wage. Meanwhile, controversies have been trailing the announcement of the review of the public office holders' remuneration. Arise News got in touch with the chairman RMAFC, Mr. Shehu Mohammed, who explained that the commission is only reviewing the annual basic salary, which was last reviewed 15 years ago.
I don't think the National Assembly and senators earn an outrageous amount of money. I've said this publicly. The salary of a senator or member of House of Reps is about, senator is about $1 million. $1 million,
Are you
a
talking
little
about
bit.
the basic salary or the total package?
Basic salary and allowances. However, there is what they call operating funds, for running the office. If you are elected senator representing Lagos West, for instance, you have to have a constituency office. I don't know how many in your state. You have to hire some people to man that office. You have to have equipments, computers and others, and depending upon the size of your constituency. Now, in other societies, that has nothing to do with the senator. There is already a structure whereby the system takes care of all those things and provided. It's still cost of governance. But here, from what I understand the National Assembly did, they monetize this and they give the senator that amount of money, and at the end of the year, I think he retires it by bringing receipts and other things. So Nigerians can advocate for take your basic salary and take your allowances, but leave the issue of constituency offices, workers in the constituency offices, equipments and others, leave it to the structure of the system.
However, with the current federal government and Labour meeting a new wage still ongoing, Nigerian workers are wondering if Labour will not ask for more.
A proverb that I've been heard used on past occasions, and is the one that says that the diarrhea of the monkey is not the business of the baboon. And there is nowhere where this comes home better than in the Nigerian space. A government says that it has removed fuel subsidy. The price of fuel increases by about 300%. Not a dime has been added to the salary of public sector workers. Nothing has been done to offer any sort of palliatives to the people. The Revenue Mobilization Committee, the gentleman that just spoke, is doing what he is statutorily empowered to do. But in the midst of all of these, we must look at the optics. The people are being told to offer more and more sacrifices, but those who purport to rule us continue to enjoy perks that we are not even allowed to know. The gentleman who just spoke now makes clear that what he is doing is what he's statutorily asked to do, fix allowances, and from what he said, only about ₦1 million or thereabout is meant to be going to the senator. But of course, we all know, because we don't know, and we are asked to fill in the gap because of the opaqueness of the finances of the Nigerian government, and particularly the legislators. Nobody knows exactly what is being taken home at the end of the day, but we do know that with alacrity, the system has responded and is about to increase the emoluments of these men by 114%. Question is, how long will the people continue to support a system that obviously does not feel the pain of their affliction, does not care in any way, shape, or form for their welfare, but increasingly ensures that those who are meant to sacrifice and rule and lead are the ones who are kept in comfort and in luxury? At the end of the day, it's up to the people, but I believe that this is not good. It's not good optics at all, not in this season. It's very bad.
Mr. Faritimi, in justification of the RMFC's position, they've said that this decision wasn't made under this, or didn't start under this tenure. Now, if you recall, in February, they had a one-day retreat where they had zonal consultations with regards to the salary review. And also, in their defense, this review hasn't happened since 2007. 16 years ago. So in light of current realities, perhaps it is justified to also consider public office holders who are also Nigerians. And bear in mind that they don't have anything to do with the minimum wage. They don't determine that. This is their own remit, and they are working according to their own remit. What would you have to say about that? And then to Mr. Rasfanjani, I'd like to ask you, talking about minimum wage, Labour has asked at the negotiation table for a review upwards of the minimum wage to 200,000 naira. Of course, this has been met with a lot of skepticism, and analysis. However, since the public office holders, or according to RMAFC, they're recommending a 114% increase, do you think Labour would then be justified to push for their own increment, in line with this? Maybe 200,000 is even too low. Maybe we should start to look at a bit more reflective of our society. Let me come to you, Mr. Faritimi, first of all.
Well, I think the first thing we need to understand is this. What is the purpose of government? If the purpose of government is the welfare of the people, who you would ordinarily refer to as citizens, then none of these really makes sense. If the purpose of government is to serve the people, we shouldn't be wondering exactly how much our legislators, whether that be the House of Reps or any public officer for that matter, we should not be wondering exactly how much they are earning. The level of covering, the complete darkness as to how much is the take-home pay of a public official, especially an elected one, speaks to the kind of society we have built, what sort of politicians, quote and unquote, we have evolved, who do not even feel the affliction of the people. I would imagine that they themselves should feel scandalized in this movement. I am not speaking to the legal correctness of what has been done, but it should concern us that in this moment where people are being taken into multifaceted level of poverty, they can hardly feed, they have no access to health care, good roads have become non-existent, people can barely travel from one point to the other. The last thing we should be discussing is anything that suggests an upward review of any sort of reward for those who have brought us here. So yes, this government did not start this. legal or illegal, I'm not going to talk to that, but this regime is not responsible for this. But the people in the last regime and the people in this regime, government is a continuum.
Yes.
The APC has ruined this country consistently for the last 8 years. This is the 9th of those years. So even though it might have blamed its twin brother, the PDP, for the preceding 16 years, it has to own the last 8 years. And no matter how you dice this, at the end of the day, when you look at where we are as a people 8 years ago and where we are today, is a world apart. Our world is practically falling apart, and these are the people responsible. No matter how much they want to dice this, they are responsible. For anyone to even now think that it's a good idea to be talking about an increment of any sort in the emolument of persons whose emoluments are already opaque enough is sickening to even comprehend. So we might want to look at it as an isolated issue, but we will be wrong. It should be looked at more as an issue that concerns the entirety of the society itself. What kind of society, what kind of people think it is all right to be talking about an upward review? These are people who should voluntarily on their own not only declare what it is that they are taking that we do not know, but even begin to talk about cutting the cost of governance drastically. So where we are today, that we are even discussing this like it's some sort of subject that should be discussed by rational beings, is suggestive of the level of putrefaction that are set into our society. It is not a subject we should be discussing at this time, in this situation. It shows the insensitivity of the ruling class, that we even consider something as sickening as this. This is not the time. This is not even about partisan politics again. It's about the humanity of the person you call a Nigerian. How in the world do you go about the business of even talking, not even suggesting it? There is even been...
All right, okay, so you use the word insensitive. ASUP have also described that as insensitive. Mr. Basfanjani, Labour have also said it's provocative. What's your take on this with regards to the ask of Labour following the fuel subsidy removal, that the minimum wage for Nigerian workers to be 200,000 naira in light of this recent development?
You know, the political class or the ruling class in Nigeria, they are not ashamed to continue to perpetuate suffering on the ordinary Nigerians. They are happy. They always, they are always happy because they have their way. They package themselves in a manner that they will perpetually continue to emasculate public taxpayers' money, rewarding their inaction and action in this country. And that is why many of them will roll down policies and programs that only looked very self-centered policies, without caring the ordinary person. The other, the other leaders in the last regime, you've seen how they, maltreated or they handle issues of labor, issues of ASU. In fact, they were mocking and even abusing ASU for demanding an improved condition of service and education generally. But because they have packaged themselves, many of them, they have packaged their children abroad using public taxpayers' money. They have taken care of, even when they have malaria, they will carry business class or first class and go abroad with public taxpayers' money. So they don't really care. And that is why the chaos, that is why the inequality is increasing. And it is important that the Bola Tinubu administration understand this sensitive issue, to, even though it's being proposed, to actually tell the revenue mobilization to say, look, at this material time, it will be difficult for us to approve this.
Dele Farochime, two quick things for you. The first is, will it have made a difference if this proposal by the RMAFC is only for judicial officers? Because originally, when this whole debate started, it was meant only for judicial officers. In fact, it was a proposal by the NBA. But now the RMAFC, responding to it, has added public office holders to it. Will it have been, will your reaction have been different if it was just judicial officers who, as we know, are victims of poor welfare, poor conditions of service and all of that? And then, of course, you are a Labour Party man to take the thing beyond the RMAFC. Do you still have hope, with the momentum that Tinubu has generated, that anything magical will happen to displace him or to change anything in any way? I mean, you are a student of real politics. And then, Rasanjani, let me come back to you. I mean, you are a civil society person. Just a general comment on how the Tinubu administration has been carrying on in terms of how we've seen one policy after another, suspension of the CBN governor, suspension of the EFCC, appointments, and now we are told that we are looking for foreign direct investments in France that will come almost immediately because of policies that are on the ground. Let's start with Dele Farutimi.
I am all for anything that guarantees the independence of the judiciary. I've had a lot to say about the judiciary. It's not the time to repeat any of that. But truth is that increasing the remuneration of any public officer, particularly those like the judicial officers who ordinarily shouldn't even be seen in public spaces, talk less of have additional places where they could augment their income. If we're saying they shouldn't be corrupt, then we must, of course, be willing to pay them living wages. I would have zero problem with paying judicial officers what I believe to be living wages. So if their remuneration were to have been increased in isolation to that of people whose actual remuneration are unknown to Nigerians, then I wouldn't have anything to say against that. I would only have asked that by the same token that judicial officers would have had their salaries and emoluments increased, people in the hospitals, people in schools, public officers, more or less civil servants, those who are not political office holders should equally enjoy the same benefit. When you now speak to the matter in court in passing, let me say this. The judiciary is meant to be the last hope of the common man. We are all here, and we were here in Nigeria on the 25th of February. The judiciary will be given adequate evidence of what transpired on that day. They also live in this society. It is up to them to decide how they wish to be remembered. I have already said, I have zero trust or hope in the Nigerian judiciary. I'm on record as having said that multiple times. But it is not for the Labour Party or any other party before the judiciary to hope that the judiciary will do the right thing. It is for them to put an abundance of evidence before the judiciary and before the world. And it is then for the judiciary to decide whether it is indeed the last hope of the common man or not. Now, to speak to the momentum being gathered by the Tinubu administration, quote and unquote, let me first of all remind us that unilaterally, without thought and without having made any preparation before or after, removing the subsidy, quote and unquote, on petrol is not momentum. Sectional appointments that tend to pander to ethnic basis and loyalty, those are not momentum. The truth has a way of catching up with all of us. That somebody has gone off to Spain to go and bring investors from the moon, those are not momentums. Eventually, when the tire hits the road and people begin to understand just exactly how divorced from reality those who purport to rule Nigeria are, those who are already looking at situations and think that the only thing to be thinking about in this moment are increases in political office holder salary, eventually, the people, whether they were APC members, PDP members, Labour Party members, when they find that when they get to the filling station, nobody demands their party affiliation. When they get to the market, nobody is asking whether Yachinedu is paying more or less than the other. The commonalities of their afflictions will become obvious to them. And they should by then begin to understand that this is not about ethnicity is not about political affiliation even. It is about the common good and the common interest. Those who care about common good focuses on what is best for all, not on what is good for a section. Any young Nigerian below the age of 30 that you recruit in a job in Nigeria today is already processing some visa or the other out of Nigeria. They're running away. So what hope is being renewed? Momentum will soon find momentum, and we'll know whether it's mentolitum or aboniki. Okay,
well, you know, your point about judiciary not being the last hope of the common man. Only yesterday at a forum, Femi Falana SAN, in fact, said the judiciary is now the last hope of the Nigerian bourgeoisie.
Oh, well.
You seem to agree with him.
Win an election, and it is stolen, and you go to the judiciary, which should be the last hope of the common man, and then money again shows up to further cement the stealing, then you have no hope. And I've gone through this, and I know how it feels.
About 346 justices in Nigeria are hearing petitions that arose from the 2023 general election. Observers say this final stage of the electoral process has far-reaching implications, including the potential to affirm or upturn the victory or defeat of candidates at the polls.
Are we going to kill a willing horse with so much work? Keep on driving matters to the few judges that are available, and then all the other matters that are pending in their own courts for the next 6 months, they are not seeing the light of day.
Under our law, criminal cases, human rights cases take precedence in law over other matters. But today, election petition, 6 months. Other cases, many years. That should stop.
The speakers advocate that all future election petitions must be concluded before swearing in as a way to ensure the sanctity of the electoral process.
In its present form, and nothing to do with the chair. It's not his fault. They are overwhelmed with a lot of things. So the only way we can begin to talk about proper elections in 2027 is to reform, is to, first of all, unbundle INEC. Must be unbundled.
When technology is used more, that it will reduce the number of witnesses. Why we begin to take all longer time and other is because we want witnesses to come and prove. You have to prove. Whoever alleges must prove. But if it is issue of technology, digitization of all the process, it's only documentary. So we don't need all the witnesses.
This is Bod Tv Bod. In case the first time you come here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more uploads.